Hi, this is Janice. Can anybody hear me?
Hi, Janice.
I don't know why my video's not on. Can somebody help me?
On your
Sorry, I can't
computer,
help you.
Janice, is there a little switch right by the camera? For example, on my computer, right by the camera at the top of the laptop, there's a switch that if you flick it, it covers the camera. And if you flick it back the other way, it uncovers the camera. I'm at 8 commissioners on right now. We have a quorum at this point.
Okay, we ready to go, Sarah?
Ready when you are.
All right, as chair of the commission, I call this meeting of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to order at 10 o'clock a.m. This Zoom webinar is being live streamed on YouTube on the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission YouTube channel. For anyone in the public watching who would prefer to watch via a different platform than they are currently using, please visit our social media at Redistricting MI. Our live stream today includes closed captioning, ASL interpretation, and Spanish, Arabic, and Bengali translation services will be provided for effective participation in this meeting. Email us at redistricting@michigan.gov for additional viewing options or details on accessing language translation services for this meeting. People with disabilities needing other specific accommodations should also contact redistricting@michigan.gov. This meeting is being recorded and will be available at www.michigan.gov/MICRC for viewing at a later date. This meeting is also being transcribed, and those closed caption transcripts will be made available and posted on michigan.gov/MICRC website, along with written public comment submissions. There is also a public comment portal that may be accessed by visiting michigan.gov/MICRC. The portal can be utilized to post maps and comments, which can be viewed by both the commission and the public. Members of the media who may have questions before, during, or after the meeting should direct those questions to Edward Woods III, Communications and Outreach Director for the Commission at woodse3@michigan.gov or 517-331-6309. For the purposes of the public watching and for the public record, I will turn to the Department of State staff to take note of the commissioners present.
Good morning, commissioners. Please say present when I call your name. Because we're all attending remotely today, if you could also disclose where you are attending remotely from when I call on you. I will call on commissioners in alphabetical order, starting with Doug Clark. Juanita Curry. Anthony Eade.
Present, remotely attending from Detroit, Michigan.
Brittany Kellum. Rhonda Lang.
Present, attending remotely from Reed City, Michigan.
Steve Lett.
Present, attending remotely from Lee County, Florida.
Cynthia Orton.
Present, attending remotely from Battle Creek, Michigan.
MC Rothhorn.
Present, attending remotely from Lansing, Michigan.
Rebecca Satella.
Present, attending remotely from Wayne County, Michigan.
Janice Villette.
Present, attending remotely from Highland, Michigan.
Aaron Wagner.
President, attending remotely from Charlotte, Michigan.
Richard Weiss.
Present, attending remotely from Saginaw Township, Saginaw, Michigan.
Justin Witches.
Present, attending remotely from Howell, Michigan.
10 commissioners are present and there is a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Reinhardt. As a reminder to the public watching, you can view the agenda at www.michigan.gov/MICRC. I will now entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Lett, seconded by Commissioner, I believe that was Witches. Is there any discussion or debate on the motion? Hearing none, it is moved and seconded that the agenda be adopted. All in favor, raise your hand. Did you have a question, MC? You're on mute.
I just saw Commissioner Eads' hand up, so that was all.
Okay. Commissioner Eade, did you have a comment?
Yes, I'd like to add a discussion about the chair position to new business at the bottom. So it would be new business.
Second,
So Commissioner Eade and then seconded, but Commissioner Lang, was that you? Discussion of chair position to 6F, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, new business item. So we have a motion and a second, motion by Commissioner Eade, seconded by Commissioner Lang to add discussion of chair position to new business agenda item 6F. Any discussion or debate on the motion to amend?
It looks like Commissioner Villette has her hand.
Yep, I see Commissioner Villette. Go ahead, Janice.
I just wanted to make sure you guys can hear me. I don't know why my video is not working. So can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
And just for the public record, it appears Commissioner Kellum has joined us. Commissioner Kellum, could you please state where you are remotely attending from for the record?
Attending remotely from Wayne County, Michigan, and good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Okay, so we have a motion to amend the meeting agenda to add item 6F, discussion of chair position. Is there any discussion or debate on that motion to amend? All right, seeing none, we will go ahead and vote on the motion to amend. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Sarah, can you help me with the count on this? Could everybody please raise your hands back up so we can, got 1, 2. Okay, all opposed, raise your hand and say nay.
Nay.
Okay. By a vote of 3 to, I'm sorry, other way around, vote of 7 to 3, the amendment carries. All right, moving back to our initial motion by Commissioner Lett and seconded by Commissioner Witches to approve the meeting agenda as amended. Is there any further debate or discussion on
Madam
that?
Chair, I believe the count was 8 to 3 on the previous vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, 8 to 3. I forgot we have one more now. I was thinking 10, 8 to 3. Thank you for that correction, Ms. Reinhardt. Any discussion or debate on the motion, the meeting agenda as amended? All right, hearing none, let's go ahead and vote on the adoption of the meeting agenda. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 All opposed, raise your hand and say nay. All right, looks like by a vote of 11-0, the meeting agenda is adopted. All right. Without objection, we will now begin the public comment pertaining to agenda topics portion of our meeting. Hearing no objection, we will now proceed with public comment. Individuals who have signed up and indicated they would like to provide live remote public commentary to the commission will now be allowed to do so. The commission, I will call on your name and our staff will unmute you. If you are on a computer, you will be prompted by the Zoom app to unmute your microphone and speak. If you are on the phone, a voice would say that the host would like you to speak and prompt you to press *6 to unmute. I will call on you by your name or the last 4 digits of the phone number. Also, please note that if you experience technical or audio issues, or if we do not hear from you for 3 to 5 seconds, we will move on to the next person in line and then return to you after they are done speaking. If your audio still does not work, you can email redistricting@michigan.gov and we will help you troubleshoot so you can participate during the next public comment period at a later hearing or meeting. You will have 1 minute to address the commission. Please conclude your remarks when you hear the timer. First in line to provide public comment is Mr. James Gallant.
Hello, this is James Gallant, Marquette. These are my opinions. I would ask the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to consider the controversy between us that I brought to you about the rules of procedure and the Commission of Legislative Apportionment as the prior reiteration of this commission, and that the Prop 2, the House Fiscal Agency reports. Could you put this on the agenda and actually review this stuff and decide whether or not you believe that that this is a reiteration, which then the rules of procedure, the prior rules of procedure that were approved under the Constitution back in 1963, they apply here. And this is the controversy between us. So, and the chairs and vice chairs, you are now the bullies with the gavel. You see, where there is no law, there is the least amount of liberty. Everyone's doing whatever they want. Every next chair does whatever they want, and then they just kind of make it up. And this is what's wrong in America now. You know, we need to get back on the same page. Robert's Rules of Order, page 366, line 8. Okay?
Thank you for addressing the commission, Mr. Gallant. Next in line is Anthony Scannell.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Well, good morning, MICRC commissioners, staff, and soon to be departing staff. Wow, yeah, I welcome the amended agenda to discuss a new chair. Wow, I don't think that came a moment too soon, but I saw on your agenda you got a piece on there. Well, you're going to talk about the feature film. I think that's just great, but I'm more interested in the template that someone's going to bring up to your template for dissenting reports, should any of you be interested in writing a dissenting report on the maps you've approved. And I'm interested to see how that shakes out. You know, a template, it's kind of like, I don't know, it kind of just harkens back to when you were voting and straw polling on the maps themselves. And, you know, we had the MDOS staff kind of influencing your votes, saying, oh, you have to vote, you have to rank a map, you know. So I'm interested to see how it shakes out. And I don't think you should let your staff strong arm you into doing any certain thing or doing a thing any certain way. I do think the staff has been strong arming.
Was that the end of his time, Ms. Reinhardt?
It was, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for addressing the commission, Mr. Scannell. Next in line is Susan Smith. Oh, and before we get into Susan Smith, Commissioner Curry has joined the meeting. Commissioner Curry, could you please indicate where you are attending remotely from?
Present and attending remotely from Detroit, Michigan.
Thank you, Ms. Curry.
Gary, is it okay if Susan Smith goes?
Yes,
Yes.
Susan, feel free to proceed.
Yes, go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Susan Smith, Vice President, League of Women Voters of Michigan. The League submits the following summary of lessons learned based on the League's observation of the MICRC meetings in September 2020. Commissioner job requirements should be clearly stated in the recruitment process and materials. Underestimation of amount of time required led to excessive absences and a perceived need to significantly increase commissioner salaries. Amount of money budgeted for communication and outreach should be increased to allow for hiring additional staff and educating the public on the constitutional criteria. MICRC should define communities of interest beyond what is in the Constitution. MICRC should adopt a more realistic timeline for drawing district maps. A more detailed statement will be submitted in the portal. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith, for addressing the commission. Next in line is Mark Payne.
All right. Good morning, Commissioners. So first, I want to thank you for all your work in the state of Michigan. My name is Mark Payne. I'm the Election Systems Manager for Michigan League of Conservation Voters Ed Fund. Because I have only 60 seconds, I will be submitting more detailed written comments on the public portal. Here, I want to highlight how the basic functions of signing up for meetings to speak, such as this one, to be improved. It will help interested members of the public to have the link posted at least 3 days before the meeting, not a day. The link to sign up should be clear, inviting, and easy to find as well, similar to the final maps tab that one encounters when visiting the homepage of the MICRC. The links posted earlier to help bring in more engagement. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission, Mr. Payne. Next in line is Jay Arnold.
That participant is not currently present.
Okay, thank you very much. That concludes our public comment for this morning. However, I would like to mention that all emailed and mailed public comment is provided to the commission before each meeting, and commissioners also review the public comment portal on www.michigan.gov/MICRC website on a regular basis. We appreciate everyone who provides public comment in whatever way you choose, and invite you to keep sharing your thoughts, especially if you'd like to share the ways that the MICRC processes or procedures have been good or could have been more effective. Next on our agenda is unfinished business 5. We do not have any unfinished business on the agenda, so without objection, we can move on to new business. First item on our agenda is agenda item 6A, vendor for lessons learned video and report. Without objection, I will ask our Communications and Outreach Director, Edward Woods III, to provide information about this agenda item. Hearing no objection, please proceed, Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Commissioner Zatella and members of the commission. As we discussed a couple of weeks ago with regards to lessons learned in video, we went out for bid. We only received one bid. And so we worked with our contractor, Good Marketing, to see if they could provide that same type of service for the $49,999.99. They came back and submitted their proposal that stated that they could do it. And so the recommendation is for approval.
Any questions or discussion points, Commissioner Lang?
Yep, I just want to say on my behalf, since I wasn't here the last meeting, that I still stand by what I had previously said, and I object to this wholeheartedly. And I just want that to be known for the public record. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lang. Any other comments or discussion? Commissioner Lett, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I move we accept the bid.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Lett to accept the bid, which is Resolution 2022-0104. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kellum. Is there any discussion or debate on the motion? All right, hearing none, all in favor of
Commissioner Orton has
Commissioner
her hand
Orton,
up.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Edward, could you just kind of walk us through what you envision that being?
The lessons learned video report, just to highlight. Sure. Thank you so much, Commissioner Orton, for the opportunity. Once again, it will be talking about the lessons learned from the commission with regards to the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission process, how it started up. So the background would talk about how the proposal got started, how the commissioners were selected, but the bulk of the report will focus on the work of the commission from its inception in September of 2020 to the vote on December 28, 2021. There will be nothing discussed with regards to pending lawsuits whatsoever. As a part of that, it's really speaking to the process that the commission did, the documents it formed, how it did its work. And we also would like to have suggestions, Commissioner Orton, from improvement from the public. You've heard some of those today. We're asking for suggestions for improvement that can be considered for the future commission or for those that would like to replicate the Michigan model.
Thank you.
Any additional comments or questions? All right, let's go ahead and vote. All in favor of adopting the resolution, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Commissioner Rothorn and Commissioner Villette, can you also audibly indicate your vote?
So,
Hi, this is Janice.
Thank you.
and I'm going to say aye as Rothorn. Looks like my connection is unstable, so I turned off my video.
Thank you.
Okay, all opposed, raise your hand and say nay.
Nay.
Okay, the resolution is adopted. Moving on to agenda item 6B, post-campaign survey. Without objection, I will ask our Communications and Outreach Director, Edward Woods III, to provide information about this agenda item. Please proceed, Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you remember at the beginning of the commission, we did a survey with the Glenn Garrett Group for a pre-survey. This is coming back to do a post-survey. There's no addition to the money. This is already within the budget. We reworked the good marketing contract. They did not use their social media money as relates to promoting the second round of public hearings. And so the $22,000 would come through the good marketing contract that the commission's already approved as a post-survey to do a compare and contrast with regards to the MICRC. If there's any questions, I can take them at this time.
Commissioner Lang.
I understand you say it's no additional money, but technically it is. You're taking from one budget money that wasn't spent to put it towards another that I don't see helps in any way, shape, or form. And we're looking at a deficit on our budget. I'm sorry I keep harping on this, but I'm just a fiscally conservative person. And when we're looking at taxpayer money, I feel it's my responsibility, and others may have different opinions, but in my opinion, it's my responsibility to make sure that that money is spent well. Like the first survey that went out told us what we already knew. Nobody knew about us. There was no shocking moment, in my opinion, for that. So spending another $22,000, I just can't justify it personally. And it's no offense against you whatsoever. I just cannot justify doing that. And I just wanted my opinion heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lang. Commissioner Rothorn, then Commissioner Witches, then Commissioner Letts.
I'm going to turn off my video just in case my unstable connection interrupts it again. But I just wanted to acknowledge that it does feel like the responsible thing to do, because we've already started with a I guess a baseline survey, because we do, and I think this is sort of documenting, right? It's not just our sort of opinions, we have social science. So it feels like the responsible thing to sort of finish this process with regard to a documentation of, right, what has shifted? How has our communication strategy worked, and with whom? Right, there's 10 million people in the state of Michigan, and to sort of get a scientific sample and understand what it is that we did shift or did not shift, and where we shifted feels really responsible, and like it will help not only with our lessons learned, but also give the next commission and Michiganders an understanding of what it is we did do and did not do.
Thank you, MC. Commissioner Riches?
So I'm gonna have to agree with Commissioner Lang here. But I'm gonna also add that I don't really see the point of asking a question about something that happened in the past and be like, hey, did you know that this happened? Like if if we send a post awareness survey saying, hey, did you know that this was going on? And everyone says no, it's not going to change anything. So it's just telling people to say, hey, have you heard about the commission? And it's not going to really affect very much going forward, in my opinion. So.
Commissioner Lett? And then Commissioner Ede?
I move we adopt the post commission survey as presented by Edward.
Commissioner Ede, did you have a comment? I see MC is seconding that. So we have a motion by Commissioner Lett, second by Commissioner Rothhorn to approve resolution 2022-0105 post-campaign survey addendum for good marketing contract. Commissioner Ede, it looks like you have a comment, and then Commissioner Kellum, and then MC, did you have another comment, or was that just you raising your hand to show the second? Okay, thank you. All right, so Commissioner Ede?
I just had a quick question for Communications Director Woods. Do you know if this is going to be a survey of the people already surveyed during the pre-survey, the first go around, or is this going to be a new random sample of citizens?
My understanding, it would be the pre-survey from the first go around, because we want to measure growth and identify ways for improvement. That's my understanding.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kellum?
It was just a quick, not an answer, but a response to Commissioner Witch's statement. I think the benefit, whether it makes anyone's mind either way, is that they're trying to like Mr. Woods said, they're trying to measure how to move forward in terms of better reaching audiences. So, I mean, in my world, pre and post surveys, I'm sure Commissioner Ede sees this all the time. So they're very necessary and they do have a benefit, but it depends on the mindset of this commission. So that was my only addition to that.
Thank you, Commissioner Kellum. Any additional comments? All right, so it has been moved and seconded by Commissioner Lett, seconded by Commissioner Rothhorn, that we adopt resolution 2022-0105 post-campaign survey addendum to good marketing contract. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, raise your hand and say nay.
Nay.
And Janice, if you could verbally indicate what your vote is.
Aye.
Sarah, keep me honest on this. It appears that the ayes prevailed and the resolution was adopted. Is that correct? Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to next business agenda item, which is agenda item 6C, report template for dissenting reports. Without objection, I will ask Communications and Outreach Director Edward Woods III to present this item. Please proceed, Mr. Woods.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This is just a suggested template. It is not a required template for the commission to consider as it relates to those who have dissenting reports. By all means, each and every commissioner is able to do and respond how they feel is appropriate. But this is it. I've been working with Sue Hammersmith and with Good Marketing with regards to this report and how this needs to be done as required by the Constitution. But once again, this is a suggested template as stated on the document so that we can get that information within a month so that the report can be done sometime in March. Obviously, the commission would see the draft and would actually approve the report. But there was, at the last meeting, we wanted to give commissioners who had dissenting reports enough time to do so. And so this was an attempt to provide a template. Like I said, once again, it's suggested, it doesn't have to be followed, but also to provide a timeline for those dissenting reports to come to the commission so the report can be completed. And so the suggested timeline for that would be Friday, February 25th.
Okay, Rhonda and then Commissioner Witches.
I've got an ear infection, so I think I may have misheard you. So I just want clarification. Did you just say that the commission has to approve the dissenting report? Or did I
No,
mishear that?
I'm saying
sorry.
the draft, we have a draft report. The commission does not approve the dissenting report.
Okay.
The dissenting report is a part of the draft. The commission needs to approve the draft, not the dissenting report. The dissenting report has to be included as part of the draft, but those who dissent do not need approval from the commission whatsoever with regard to the report or changing the contents of the report or anything along those lines.
Okay, thank you. I did misunderhear. That's why I asked, or misheard. That's why I asked for clarification. And I just want to say on my end, in the past, had already been in contact with General Counsel on this matter. I feel that she was the best one to give guidance towards the Constitution, and she provided me with a kind of a outline that I could use if I chose, and that's what I will be using. Thank you.
Commissioner Witches.
And I also may have misheard, but I believe you stated that anyone could do it. Isn't it true that the only individuals that could provide a dissenting reports are the ones that voted no on the maps that were adopted?
Absolutely. Correct.
Okay.
Commissioner Lett.
I would move that the date that Edward said for submission, was it February 23rd, Edward?
Friday, February 25th.
Okay, I would move February 25th be the date set for submission of dissenting reports so they can be included in the draft.
I second.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Lett, seconded by Commissioner Witches to establish February 25th, which is a Friday, as the deadline for individual commissioners to submit dissenting reports. Commissioner Orton? Did you have a comment?
Yeah. So those dissenting reports need to be received by that date in order to be in the final report that we will have to approve. When does that have to be done? When does the final report have to be?
We're not under a timeline with regards to the final report, Commissioner Orton. We were just trying to get it done by the end of March.
Okay, so there is a report that has to be done by 30 days after our vote. And
that's posted on the website. Our general counsel took the lead on that. It was posted yesterday on the website.
Okay, so everything that needs to be in there is in there. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Witches, I saw your hand go up and then come down. You good? Okay. Commissioner Wagner and then Commissioner Lang.
Why are we putting a timeline on the dissenting report if we're not getting the draft report ready until March?
No, the draft.
Is that what I understood?
Commissioner Wagner, the draft report is being worked upon now in terms of starting that with as required in the Constitution. But they also need to format the dissenting report based on how that comes in. And once again, they do not, the commission is not approving that, but we have to give our graphic designer time to format it and provide a draft of the draft report to the 10th. And then you can take a look at the draft, see if there's any changes or what have you. And then the final report would be given to the commission on the 24th at its next meeting.
Okay.
Commissioner Lang.
Yes. Legal Counsel Pastula, I have a question. In the Constitution, it says that dissenting reports can be submitted with the final report, correct? With it. So in your legal opinion, am I out of line thinking that based off from the reading of the Constitution, that the dissenting report is being can be submitted with the final report, that then they should be done at the time that the dissenting report, or pardon me, that the final report is done based off from the reading of the Constitution. Because if I'm doing something in my own format, I don't see where it needs to be reformat, because a dissenting report is separate from the final report. Am I making sense?
Thank you. Through the chair to Commissioner Lang, and good morning to the commission. So the language of the Constitution in subsection 16, submitting a dissenting report is permissive for anyone who voted against the adopted plans, but it is required that it shall be issued with the commission's report. So what I'm hearing from Communications Director Woods is that it's kind of an organizational or a graphic design or some type of and I certainly don't want to speak for Mr. Woods, he can do that himself, but no, there is no time frame on it. So that would be something that the commission would be electing to do on its own accord, but just that the dissenting reports are to be included. So again, and I'll defer to either the executive director or the communications director that are facilitating that process.
Okay, then with that answer, can I just make one comment? I don't think that it's fair for the commission members who are not doing dissenting reports to dictate when those who are doing them have to have them in, as long as they are in prior to the submission of the final report. That's our constitutional right. And my opinion, that's all I'm going to say.
Commissioner Kellum?
So I hear the language, but I think it's almost nitpicky. The with just means that the dissenting report needs to be inside the final report. Looking at the date, you have a month, maybe less than a month, to do a couple sentences about why you're choosing not to do the map in whatever format that is. I think that's plenty enough time. That's all I have to say about it. I don't think it's anything to do with the Constitution. This keeps coming up, and not to defend the commission, but we're doing the job that we're supposed to. And if you have an issue with it, that's fine. But to say that we're choosing something else or trying to ostracize, I'm growing very weary of that. So I just am in favor of the deadline, and it should be abided by that. Thank you.
Commissioner Lett and then Commissioner Eid.
Question, Edward, do you have any idea of what the drop dead date would be for a dissenting report to be into whoever is putting this together to be included?
Sure. What they were trying to do was to have a checks and balances. So by working on the report and then getting the dissenting report 2 weeks before, they were going to put it all in one document, make sure nothing was excluded, or if something needs to be changed, it's in the report. Verification that the dissenting report as provided was listed correctly in the document. And then if there's any changes, the commission would note that on the 10th, or the person who provided the dissenting report would note that on the 10th, and then provide a final copy to the commission on the 24th. So that was the purpose behind it. It's more of a checks and balances to ensure what transferred happened correctly.
Commissioner Eid?
How much time would you like? And if you don't want February 27th, I don't see a reason why we can't extend it to be later.
Thank you, Commissioner Eid. I just would like to say that my dissenting report is not going to be 2 sentences. It's going to be very in-depth with my own attachments to my dissenting report. It's not something that I'm taking lightly and doing. So I would appreciate the absolute most time possible, and I would have it in correlation with the final report as it stated. It's not something I'm taking lightly, and it's not something that I'm just pulling out of thin air and on a whim. in discussions about this, this is my chance also to explain why I dissented or voted against maps. And I think it's important that I am able to tell that and give examples of why, and that's my plan. So I plan on it being very detailed and with a lot of going back through public comments and things of that nature. And that takes time. As you know, we receive thousands of public comments. So I would like as much time as possible, but yet still obviously meet the constitutional deadline.
Mr. Woods.
So Commissioner Eder, through the chair, are you suggesting Monday, February 28th?
No, I'm not suggesting that. And I understand, Commissioner Lang, if I were doing a dissenting report, it would also be detailed. So I totally get that. But is there like a date you can give us so we can pass something today? You know, do you know like approximately how much time you'll need to put that together so we can just put some sort of timeline down on this?
When is the final report due?
Well, the timeline that we're working on with the contractor was provided by March 24th to the commission. And so that was the suggested date that we talked about, but obviously I can go back to the contractor with another date. Commissioner Lang. And so if you would like to suggest Thursday, March 3rd, and then I can just try to make sure they, depending on how many pages and, document, to make sure that it's in the format for the report. And we don't want to make sure we miss nothing that you provided, the attachments, the wording, everything. I mean, we want to verify that so that when you see it on the 10th, it's exactly what you submitted and there are no errors.
So that gives 5 extra days.
Actually 6.
Okay, I would like to know what Commissioner Wagner's opinion is on that. She also has the opportunity to do a dissent, and this is not all about me. I would like to hear her opinion.
Commissioner Wagner.
My question is to Director Woods. Did you not say 2 weeks? That they needed 2 weeks to correlate the reports together and put them all together. And with that date being March 24th, wouldn't it be better to have a March 10th or a March 9th date, which would be 2 weeks from the 24th of March? For final
Correct.
dissenting?
Well, on March 10th, they're providing the draft report for the commission to consider. And included in the draft report are anyone who did not vote for a particular map who would like to submit a dissenting report. And so it's going to be an all-in-one inclusive document. We want to make sure. And so I wanted you to.
However, the commission has nothing to say about our dissenting reports, whether or not they're included. So I don't see why they have to be included in the draft report, as long as we get them to who's ever coordinating everything by the last date. So if they need 24 days or 2 weeks to correlate all the reports and put them together, why not give us until the 9th of March, which would put us 2 weeks from the 24th?
Well, there needs to be a checks and balances is what we were trying to do, Commissioner Wagner, to make sure that what was submitted by you did not get lost in the format. The graphs did not get changed in the format. We wanted to make sure that there was a checks and balances. So but essentially what you see on the 10th should have very little changes, if any changes at all, if it was done correctly. Yes, you are absolutely correct. There is no vote by the commission on your dissenting report. The concern is verifying that what you provided was actually in the report and it's formatted correctly, because it's one inclusive report. So it is not, has nothing to do with the commission approving. It's making sure the document adequately reflects those who dissented, and then the contents that are in there reflects what the commission feels should, is appropriate.
Okay, I still don't see the need to have it in before the 9th of March.
Well, the formatting takes time. I mean, if I'm not sure how many pages, I don't even know how many people are going to dissent. I mean, anyone that dissented on any map has an opportunity to provide a dissenting report. It's not whether or not people objected to 3 maps. Those who dissented on the congressional map, those who dissented on the state Senate maps, those who dissented on the state House maps. I mean, I don't know how many reports we're going to get. I have no idea how many pages those reports are going, that will entail. And we have to give the contractor time to put it in the format, make sure, do a checks and balances to make sure nothing is missing. And then we also have to get the sign off of the person that provided the dissenting report to ensure that it's accurate. And so the idea was to provide a draft on the 10th and then vote it on the 24th so that there was enough time for everyone to weigh in the appropriate spot of the report. So that's why I was suggesting if we want to move those who want to dissent to March 3rd, I'll go back to the contractor and see how we can make that work.
I see. Thank you.
All right, I'm seeing more hands. So we have Commissioner Callum and Commissioner Wagner.
Commissioner Wagner just spoke, but I don't know if she had something else to say.
No, okay, so, all right, so just Commissioner Callum then.
Yeah, I just want us to vote on a date, honestly. I'm gonna turn in a report as well. I think it's rude and inconsiderate to publishing deadlines and the structure of the report that the commission has to turn in to turn this discussion into wanting to wait longer. We voted for those maps a long time ago. Folks knew how they were going to vote. You've had time to think about whether it's detailed, 2 sentences, or a period as to the report. And I think we need to be respectful to Edward Woods III, our communications and outreach director, and the time that he takes to put these things together. I'm just, again, growing tired of the continued discussion about deadlines regarding things that people were already frustrated with. It feels very inconsiderate.
All right, guys, I think we're ready to vote on this. So Steve, I'm sorry, did you get a second on your initial motion for the February 25th deadline? I didn't write it down. I'm not sure. General Counsel, was there a second?
There was,
Dempsey
Madam
seconded.
Chair. It was Commissioner Witches was the second on the motion, which was to set February 25th as the date for individual commissioners to submit their dissenting reports, was that original motion language.
Okay, thank you, General Counsel. So we have a
You're
motion
welcome.
and a second to set February 25th as the deadline for dissenting opinions. Commissioner E, did you have another comment at this point?
Yes, I'd like to propose a friendly amendment to the motion to change it from February 27th to, what was the March date you were saying, Edward? March 9th?
March 3rd.
March 3rd.
March 3rd.
Okay.
I would consider that a friendly amendment and accept it.
Okay, so we now have a motion that the date be March 3rd for deadline for dissenting reports to be submitted. Commissioner Witches, since you seconded that, are you, okay, I just want to make sure you're good with that too. All right, all in favor of that motion, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, raise your hand and say nay. And Janice, I saw you visually indicate with the raised hand, and I also heard you say aye, so I'm just confirming with the Secretary of State. All right, so the motion is adopted. Let's see.
I don't know if I need to say something. I didn't raise my hand because my screen was frozen, so I missed the vote.
So are you an aye or an
I'll
a
say
nay?
aye.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
I'm gonna turn off my video in case that helps.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else, any other further discussion on this, Mr. Woods, or can we move on to the next agenda item? Good. Okay, we will continue with new business agenda item 6D, budget report for first quarter of the fiscal year. Without objection, I will ask Executive Director Hammersmith to present a budget report.
Madam Chair, Commissioner
yes.
E had his hand raised.
I see that. So Commissioner Ede.
I'm sorry, did we approve the draft as well?
That's not up for approval because the commission, it's just a suggestion. It's not something that the commissioners have to follow. All right, without objection, please proceed, Ms. Hammersmith.
Good morning, commissioners. I hope you're doing well today. Provided for you today was an update on the budget through the first quarter of our fiscal year, which ended on December 31st. You will note that we did receive a tiny bit of income through a FOIA deposit of $99.70, which increased our budget ever so slightly. As far as expenses, the salaries are at 23% of budget. You may note that travel costs seem high. Included in those travel costs are some hotel rooms from consultants. In order for them to get the state rate on their billings, they were billed through the MICRC, and the Legislative Services Bureau was unable to divide those bills between the consultants and the commission. So I have gone through all of them. I'm waiting on a couple yet, invoices, and there's approximately $11,000. Then there will be an accounting transfer as an expense to the EDS commissioners or federal compliance or consultants or federal compliance. So that will reduce the travel costs. And of course, with meeting remotely, that also will reduce our travel costs, certainly in this quarter. Facilities, AV, and security also is at about 64% of our budget. That is because of the public hearings that took place and the many meetings that were held between October 1st and December 31st of last year. Our consultants are a little slow. We've not received any billings from EDS in this fiscal year yet, although I've asked a few times. I believe they're working on it. Litigation counsel and the local counsel are both paid through November. They have not yet submitted the December bills. Our VRA legal counsel did submit a December bill that was paid in January. And we only have received one of the paralegal bills, and that was through November 17th for an amount of $2,200. However, that was paid in the current quarter, so that line item is showing low. The translation, we did receive the invoice for the Braille books of $20,737.50. Again, that was paid in January and will show on the next quarterly report. So at this point, we have $2,175,000 remaining of funds remaining. But the budget numbers, when I gave you the percent of budget, still reflect that budget which has been provided, which indicates if all those legal expenses are indeed incurred in this fiscal year, that our budget would be a negative $827,000. So I would entertain any questions you might have.
Commissioner Lang?
I have a hypothetical question, I guess, and it's probably going to be really, really unpopular. But since we're not mapping and we're not covering the country and or the state or what have you, is it possible to revert back to the 25% commissioner salaries that was initially stated in the Constitution rather than the increased cost to save the commission some money? I'm sorry if that's an unpopular, that's a hypothetical, and I just wanted to know if legally or if it would be more of a pain to do something like that, or if it's something that any of the commissioners would even consider.
Well, I believe the commission sets its own salaries. That's what you did initially. And you can choose to change your salaries. You also have, you will have 2 remaining staff for the month of March. And those contracts then will end at the end of March. So those can also be considered. It's again, this is the commission's budget. I'm simply reporting.
MC?
So I think we approved a Quickbooks expense. And so I'm just thinking about, like, is there a way to like, we're getting the spreadsheets, but I'm just wondering, how is that going? Or will we get sort of Quickbooks updates, or is there, how's the process for our budgeting and expense and the I know it's a process because we have the fiscal budget legislative bureau or whatever it is. So I'm just wondering, there were categories. So just, can you help us understand, like, how this budget, how the expenses, and we're tracking them, and whether Quickbooks is actually being used or useful?
Sure. What happened was the QuickBooks numbers, and we used these same object fields that were provided. They're in the second column of the budget. There's object numbers. So every time that I submit a bill, I include the object number where that expense goes. Unfortunately, we had about 20 in the first quarter expenditures that didn't match the object. So it was like looking for needles in haystacks. Sarah finally, I think, gave up on trying to figure it out. I spent a couple of days this week on it, and I got it figured out, and I know how to make the corrections, and have sent that to the LSB to do. But the person that we work with there is off for a couple of weeks also. So it may take some time to get that done. We can get a QuickBooks report. Also, you need to know that, and that was going to be in my report, but for your information, Sarah Martinez did take a full-time job starting Monday of this week. So I found that out last week. So she has very limited availability for us. Her contract ends on January 31st. With her limited availability, I think probably it's okay just to let that contract lapse. And I will see if I can see if we can transfer the license for the QuickBooks to me. So I can also use that format. Right now, I've got everything on Excel spreadsheets that works for me. And that's how these numbers were compiled.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Eid?
Yeah, I stated this a few meetings ago, but I still think we might want to look at going to the legislature and asking for an increase in our budget. Our budget is relatively small. We've done, in my opinion, at least, a good job of keeping expenditures low. I don't think we've got crazy hiring staff. And in fact, I think one of the things for the process in the future that will be needed is more staff. So I think that's something we should think about, going to ask, putting together a report to ask legislators to increase the budget so we can, more adequately do our jobs.
I agree. And I think we need a better handle on the legal expenses. But again, you don't know what litigation is going to be filed and what that will entail. So it would help if we had the December invoices for all of those expenses as we assess how it might look moving forward.
All right, do we have any additional questions for our executive director? Nice coffee mug, Anthony.
Thanks, our executive director.
Yes, I know, noticed that. Go ahead, Commissioner Eid.
So can I make a motion to have Sue put together some sort of report to ask legislature to increase our budget to be more comparable to what other commissions from states the size relatively near Michigan have?
Commissioner, so just restating, you want a motion to approach the legislature. Who are you having to do that? Are you going to have the executive director approach the legislature? I'm just trying to clarify your motion.
I do think that would fall under her job description.
Okay, so we have a motion to empower the executive director to approach the legislature about increasing our budget. Commissioner Rothhorn and then Commissioner Lett, I'm not sure if you had your hand up or not.
I don't want to second that, mostly because I think we're still in transition. We've got some changes coming up, and I feel like the budget is, I guess what I want to do is make sure that we do have a small but mighty staff, and even smaller now. And I don't want to create more work because I think we have to deal with these changes that are coming up. And before we sort of add that on, we might need more, but we don't know yet. And so I guess what I'm thinking about is just making sure that we as the commission can direct our staff and make sure that we're directing them in sort of fiscally responsible and sort of appropriate ways. And so it might be necessary, and I agree with you, Commissioner E, like it may be necessary, and we had anticipated and talked about it, but because of the changes, I'm not sure that it is yet. And so I would want to make sure that we're using our staff time really, really efficiently.
Commissioner Witchus?
I'm thinking way back here to when we first started, but I was under the impression that MDOS was our middleman or for speaking with the legislature. Is that no longer the case?
Well, Sarah can chime in here. I don't believe they see themselves as a middleman. Certainly, Mike Brady has said that he would assist in reaching out to the legislature. So we will work hand in hand with MDOS, but I think ultimately it is the responsibility of this commission to approach the legislature when additional funds are needed.
All right, at this point we have a motion, but we don't have a second. Is anyone interested in seconding that motion?
I'll table the motion for a later date.
All right, any further questions for our executive director? Otherwise, we're going to move on. Okay, so we're going to continue with new business agenda item 6E, potential options for further modification of the rules of procedure. Without objection, I will ask General Counsel Pastula to present information. Please proceed, General Counsel.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. For this line item on the agenda, I submitted a report to the commission dated January 25th. That's also available online. And it outlines potential options for consideration to further modify the MICRC's rules of procedure. Moving forward, as the commission completes its constitutionally mandated work and when judicial review of adopted plans is concluded, subsection 18 of the Constitution will be triggered, meaning that the commission would need to be reconvened. So the proposed memo puts forth two suggestions for your consideration. The first is in regard to remote meetings, and the second is in regard to reconvening the MICRC. I kind of jumped to the second one here, but it is to add language, to add a section to reconvene the commission should they need to be reconvened during the next decade. And that process, I utilized the process set forth in the Constitution for convening the commission's first meeting, which is by the Secretary of State would issue the call. And at that meeting, that first reconvening meeting, similar to the first meeting of any new commission, officers would be selected and the business would be conducted. The Secretary of State, I think, is the most appropriate entity or individual to do that because there will always be a Secretary of State. And while the commission officer terms may expire, commissioner eligibility may fluctuate over the course of the next 10 years. Certainly, the office of the Secretary of State will remain static. So that redlined language is for your consideration. And then as to remote meetings, during the January 13th meeting, I was asked to put forward some suggested language for consideration. And that language can be found in section 6.2 that gives the commission the discretion to set their meetings to be either in person or remote. So that is the language before you. I'm happy to answer any questions or modify the language, the proposed language as the commission sees fit. Thank you.
Any discussions or debates? Questions? Commissioner Ede.
My questions are mainly centered around the reconvening portion of these proposed rules that were sent out. And I think this is something a lot of us have been thinking about, as we near what might be the end of our time as commissioners. to me, it seems a little, it seems like, we're trying to have it both ways. Like we disband and then we reconvene. Whereas, to me, it seems like it might make more sense to either just decide, are we disbanding permanently or are we sticking through until, I guess it would, I don't know how long it would be. I don't think any of us know. I mean, it might be for the full 10 years. So I'm just wondering what people's thoughts are on that.
General Counsel.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. So the Constitution it states that your terms expire when your work is complete and not before any judicial review is complete. And we have two pending cases now, and without knowing the time frame for those to get resolved. If they do get resolved and no new cases are filed, but are filed in the future, then the commission would need to be able to address those cases. Again, the 2011 maps were challenged in a 2017 filing. So as the election results come in those kinds of things, utilizing the 2020 MICRC commission maps, there could theoretically, there's not a deadline by which to submit a legal challenge. So theoretically, up until new maps are adopted by the subsequent commission, this commission could be subject to legal challenge. I hope that's responsive, Commissioner Eid. But again, it doesn't, the Constitution doesn't empower the commission to just stay in session for the next 10 years. It's when there's either you're still doing your work or a judicial review. Thank you.
Commissioner Rothorn, did you have a comment?
Yes, thanks. I like this. I think it gives us options, and it does feel like it's a fiscally responsible way to do it, to reconvene and not just sort of extend us and indefinitely all the way through 10 years. That doesn't feel So I do like the reconvene option, and that I'll leave it at that.
Commissioner Lett.
Well, I guess my thoughts on this are, once the legal challenges are all resolved, whenever that occurs pursuant to the Constitution, then we are discharged, disbanded, however you want to say it. I'm not so sure, and I guess I don't think that we, as the commission, can extend our own life. If in fact there is a challenge several years after the end of litigation, it doesn't necessarily follow that the commission would somehow necessarily be involved. If the Secretary of State or whatever powers to be feel that it would behoove to revive the commission at that time for whatever purpose, and the only purpose that I could foresee would be that there would be a necessity to go back and do some more mapping, then I suppose that could be done either through the Secretary of State, perhaps, though I'm not sure, or through a special legislative bill to in fact do that. But I guess I have a problem. I mean, I think it's a good idea, but I'm not sure that we can, that we're really on sound ground in order to do that. I guess my other kind of joking point of view would be, it's their problem, not ours. Once we disband, let them worry about it.
So I sort of share the same concern that Commissioner Lett just raised. And my other concern with this language is if we are able to be reconvened, which I'm not entirely clear on whether we are or whether we need to be, I would prefer to have it be potentially in the hands of more than one person than just the Secretary of State being empowered to reconvene the commission. And my thought process on that is, you know, we know there are many politicians who are in favor of the commission, and we know that there are some who are not. And the Secretary of State is ultimately a political position. And what happens 5 years from now if we have someone who is in this office of the Secretary of State who is not a fan of the commission and it does not want to reconvene us? I mean, I wouldn't want to put that power in the hands of one person. So I would ask that we consider maybe expanding this in some way to include multiple potential options for people who can reconvene, whether that be, you know, we could write it to say any person who was a commissioner as of the date that we disbanded would have that power, or maybe the governor or the, you know, I mean, I just rather have more options than just have it all rest in the hands of one person. So that's kind of my thought on it. Commissioner Lett.
I think that this would probably be a good topic to set over to another meeting or two and let us give some thought to it and see if someone had a brainstorm that maybe we could do. And perhaps Ms. Reinhardt could check with Mr. Brady and have him get in on this also.
Madam Chair?
Yes, General Counsel.
Thank you so much. So for the benefit of the commission, I was in consultation with Mr. Brady over this proposed language and had discussions with that office. And I certainly support the commission's desire to address this further at a future meeting. I just wanted to make sure the commission knew that I did work in conjunction with MDOS on these discussions. Thank you.
Commissioner Wagner.
Hello, I would like to put a motion forth in considering Commissioner Lang's suggestion about reducing our pay rate to the 25%. I would like to put a motion forth to do that since the majority of our work is over with. Thank you.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Wagner, seconded by Commissioner Lang, to reduce commissioner pay to 25% of the governor's salary. Any discussion or debate on the motion?
At this point, because we did set our rate, and I understand that our work is mostly done, but in the leadership position, and I know Commissioner Lang, right, you've said how much work you are doing. This is setting up. I think it's important to recognize that we are still relevant and we are defending maps and we are still a body of government for the people. And we've gotten comments that people would not even do the work that we are doing for the amount that we're doing. So my point is, I think there's a variety of opinions that we are paid too little, that we're paid too much. And so I feel like it's, I just want to make sure that I'm going to be in favor of keeping the amount that we have. I do think that I want to set the value of the work that we do and the service that we provide. I want to keep it at the same amount and not sort of suggest that there was a work period that on product that we produced and now we're not as relevant. I think we will disband when we're not relevant. I think that this time is equally important and that we are defending the decisions we made and trying to understand all of the consequences of the decision we made. And, and frankly, we're each doing the work that is required of us for the amount of money that we've set ourselves, the salary that we've set ourselves at.
All right, Commissioner Kellum.
Commissioner Rothorn, I tend to agree with you. I'll also say that we have no idea what lies ahead in terms of litigation, in terms of possibly having to travel, those of us that have been and are able to. So I know that I am not the only voice that would like to continue to be compensated for the very hard work that we've already been doing and the work that we have been doing, especially those that are getting up out of the house to do the work.
Point of order.
Commissioner.
I am about sick and tired of these personal attacks that are being directed at me. It's unbecoming of the rules and procedures and the guidelines that we set forth in this commission. And I ask that the chair reprimand the statements because it's ongoing and it's getting a little tedious and a little put up. I can do without the personal attacks. I don't care how anybody else feels about me on this commission. I have not bullied anybody on this commission. I may say things that get under people's skin, but I have never bullied anybody. And I ask that the chair put an end to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lang. I'm not going to reprimand anybody, but I do ask that everybody be respectful of each other and your fellow commissioners and staff. And let's try to turn the heat down a little bit on this meeting, okay? All right, Commissioner Eid, I saw you had a hand up. Did you still have a comment?
Yes, I agree with what Commissioner Wang said. I think we do have some idea of what's gonna happen. We're being sued in 2 different courts of law currently. It's likely that some of us are gonna get subpoenaed. What's unknown is how long it will take. But we just had a public comment earlier today suggesting that commissioners should actually get paid more, not less. So I think we're compensated adequately for the work that we do, and I would not vote in favor to reduce it at this time. Maybe at a later time if we disband and then have to come back, but until that time, I would not be supportive of this.
Commissioner Lang?
Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, so we have a motion by Commissioner Wagner, seconded by Commissioner Lang to reduce the rate of pay of commissioners back to the original 25% that was listed in the constitutional amendment. Sarah Reinhardt, if you can run a roll call on that, I would appreciate it.
Just a point of order to end discussion, we need a 2/3 vote.
You what?
To end discussion, I don't know if there's further discussion, but to end discussion, you need a 2/3 vote.
Well, nobody else has their hand up, Commissioner Eid.
Oh, okay. I thought
So,
let's go.
and honestly, we're a little out of order anyway, because we were discussing general counsel's proposed changes to the rules, and somehow we segue back into the budget. So that's all right. But Sarah Reinhardt, if you could go ahead with the roll call vote on that motion, just to repeat, it was to reduce commissioner salaries back down to 25%.
Commissioners, please indicate your support of the motion with a yes or no. I will call on commissioners in alphabetical order to vote, starting with Cynthia Orton.
No.
MC Rothorn.
No.
Rebecca Satella.
No.
Janice Follett.
No.
Aaron Wagner.
Yes.
Richard Weiss.
At this point in time, no.
Dustin Witches.
No.
Doug Clark. Apologies, he's not
He's
present.
not here, yeah.
Juanita Curry.
No.
Anthony Eid.
No.
Brittany Kellum.
No.
Rhonda Lang.
Yes.
Steve Lett.
No.
By a vote of 2 yes to 10 no, the motion does not carry.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Reinhardt. All right, I think we're going to move on to the next item of our agenda at this point. I think we want some more time to think about the proposed change to the minutes, so we can come back and talk about that in 2 weeks. And then we're going to move on to item 6. Did someone say something? Who was that? Okay, 6F, which is discussion of chair position. And MC, I'm going to hand this over to you to facilitate. And I'm going to step away for about 5 minutes, guys, but I'll be back.
Okay. So discussion is open. Any, Commissioner Eid?
So, I was kind of careful with how I worded this motion. One of our public comments said earlier that it was to select a new chair, and that's not what I motioned. I motioned to discuss the chair position. And to me, that's more of laying out expectations and, us being candid with each other about what we expect out of whoever's going to be, who's currently serving as our chair, and what, because that term's coming to an end soon, what we can expect out of future chairs of this commission. What I will ask, though, is that, we try to keep this professional, not have any personal attacks, and keep in mind that this is, being live streamed on YouTube. So let's have some class, let's have some dignity with having this discussion. It's just a chance for people to, get their thoughts about that out in the open.
Okay, thanks for framing it, Commissioner Eid. Any other discussion? Commissioner Lett.
Considering what has precipitated this discussion and the freshness of it, I would suggest that we may want to set this over for a 2-week period to let everybody kind of consider what their thoughts may be. I really consider this a personnel matter that would be better served. And I'm no fan of closed session, but certainly in a closed session, to say that we have had a somewhat contentious meeting today would be an understatement. And I would like to see us step back, take a breath, and then come back in a couple of weeks to consider what it is that we really want to do without bashing each other, as Anthony has said it in better terms than bashing.
Thank you, Commissioner Lett. Any objection to tabling this or putting this in an unfinished business? Commissioner Lang.
Thank you, Vice Chair Rawthorn. I have given this a lot of thought for a very long time, and I've been reviewing the rules of Robert's Rules and Procedures in Chapter 15. And with that being said, Mr. Vice Chair, I would like to put a motion forth and move the following resolution to censure Commissioner Zitella for conduct on becoming of a commissioner and violating the MICRC rules of personal conduct. Madam Chair, in both her role as Vice Chair and Chair, has at many times been rude to members of the commission. At times, in my opinion, has been arrogant to members of the commission. In my opinion, she has always also bullied people, not only during the mapping process, but also put forth public attacks in open meetings on people's characters with no justification. For example, when she
Point of order, how are we allowing this to take place in a live
I
meeting?
was given the floor, Commissioner.
I know, but you're name calling in a public forum.
I'm not
the commissioner is present. You just made the accusation. I am not going to allow that. General counsel, someone else.
I have the floor.
This should not be allowed.
This
should not be allowed, commissioners.
I was given the floor.
This should not be allowed, commissioners.
Please allow me to finish my motion, please.
And Commissioner Lang, I think what Commissioner Kellum is trying to raise is that because you were talking about like censuring someone for calling someone out, I think what we have tried to do is act as one commission. And so because you have the floor and are naming a particular commissioner, I think that's the sensitivity. And because, as Commissioner Lett also said, right, and Commissioner Eade said, we're trying to actually, like, it's fresh, we've got a contentious meeting. And I think that's where Commissioner Kellum's voice is. So I would ask you to sort of use your own discretion and say, hey, I will do this next time, or I will figure out another way to talk about it, but not as a personal.
With all due respect, Vice Chair Rawthorn, you did give me the floor. Please allow me to finish my statement and my motion. That's all I'm asking. I am allowed this under under Robert's Rules of Orders. I am allowed this. Okay. I feel that I need to say this.
Okay.
So where I left off, there were public attacks in open meetings on people's character with no justification. For example, when she made a scene about me attending remotely for health concerns, which we're not going to go there at the moment, and stating doing outreach at fairs would potentially harm this commission, but had no issues with others doing the same. During discussions about mapping, when I raised my hand to make a statement, I had
Can someone please step in?
Excuse me, please let
Executive
me finish
Director
my
Hammerson.
motion.
This is a nightmare. Can someone please step in?
I would ask, as the person with
General Counsel, am I within my guidelines to finish my motion, please?
I have a right to ask for a closed session if there is going to be discussion.
My understanding is a commission, our meetings are to be held in open session, all commission business. That was just ruled upon by the Supreme Court. Now, if it was a staff issue, then it could be. All I'm asking for is let me finish my motion. Nobody has to agree with me, but I have the right to do my motion.
And
You do
Commissioner
not
Lang,
have the right to violate the code of conduct in the course of doing so, and you are
Okay.
currently violating the code of conduct.
I
Okay,
am not violating. the code of conduct.
Commissioner Lang, you asked for general counsel's,
Thank you.
Just, yeah, please, general counsel, help us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Chair. So what I am hearing so far is that we have a member that is making a motion to censure, which would be a motion that is used, if adopted, would say the body disapproves of the behavior of a member. So what I'm hearing is that a member is trying to make that motion. It's not a personnel issue, so I wouldn't see any reason or basis to go into a closed session. I think what's happening under Chapter 15 is, again, it's a motion to censure, which is just disapproval of behavior for consideration. It's not, or any disciplinary procedures provided for in other areas of Roberts, or that would be constrained by the Constitution and the Commission's rules. So what I'm hearing is a motion to censure, which the member was recognized, the member is making, and that is my understanding procedurally of what is occurring right now, unless I am
Okay.
misunderstanding what's happening.
Thank you.
That it's a motion to censure for violation of the code of conduct, and I'm not trying to put words in anyone's mouths or take them out of someone else's mouths, but that's what I'm hearing from a procedural standpoint.
Right. And so because we've got the violation of code of conduct, I just want to acknowledge, right, and that Commissioner Lang, I do understand that, right? You will have the floor back, but Commissioner Lett, please, do you have something that can help us with this?
I think under General Counsel's discussion there, that's correct. It is a motion to censure, but that's the motion. The motion to be, I want to make a motion to censure, and do I have support for that? And then you go into the discussion of why. So until we get to that motion that the body approves, then we never get to the discussion which he's doing now, which is way beyond the motion to censure.
Okay.
My understanding to the reading on Chapter 15 of Robert's Rules of Orders is you state the resolution of why you are censuring, or the motion, the resolution, and it lists the reasons why in that resolution. The motion is for a resolution, and the resolution must state the reasons why. Unless I misread it, and if I did, by all means, I will stand corrected and accept that.
General Pastula, Counsel Pastula?
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Chair. It may be beneficial at this point to see if the motion has support by way of a second, so that
Yes.
so it can
Thank you.
proceed.
I second.
Okay. So I believe, and will you help us, Commissioner Lang, because I know that, right, both the opposition and the sort of you have stated that you're using the commissioner's code of conduct, and I've got it here, but like, help us know, right? Why, can you help us with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, one of those? Because I think the other part is like, right, you're also not, you're being asked not to proceed because of the code of conduct. So there's a real challenge here.
I'm not sure what you're asking, but I would like to finish my statement before we get into it. As far as the code of conduct, we had a thing where we would be respectful of
Commissioners shall demonstrate honesty,
and
integrity,
staff.
and professionalism.
Yes, yes.
That's A.
And that you will be respectful when they're giving their opinions. There's something around there. I don't have them in front of me at the moment, so I can't say specifically A, B, C, or D.
Okay, and so actively seek bipartisan and nonpartisan representation in their presentations and demonstrations at committee meetings. I think what I'm hearing is it feels like there's an attack, right, on one commissioner, on the chair, and I understand that you feel like you need to share this because of censure. And there has been a suggestion to say, hey, let's do this next in 2 weeks when we meet and table it today because we've had such a contentious meeting, right? So I'm asking you if you're I believe that you should have the floor again. That's where we're at. And I see your hand, Commissioner E, but I really do want to try to get back to Commissioner Lang, and I'm really trying to help us recognize that there is real code of conduct tension here. And it's been demonstrated because of our Robert's Rules of Order, right, that Commissioner Lang should proceed or has the ability to proceed. It's just that I'm asking you, Commissioner Lang, to sort of help us as a body, right, act as one and try to actually say, hey, we have a tough meeting thus far. We could potentially pick this up next time when we meet. So it's up to you. Okay,
I appreciate that.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I just think we're completely out of order here. My original motion when we amended the agenda wasn't for a censorship. It's for a discussion about the chair as a position.
We agree, Commissioner Ede. We totally agree, which is why I've asked Commissioner Lang to sort of consider that. It was not and this is where she's at.
And there is a motion and a second on the floor.
Yes.
So can I finish my statement? Can I have the floor back, please?
Please.
Okay. It's not something that I did lightly. I want you all to know that. I have personally felt bullied. And I'm sorry that people will disagree with that, but it's not only affected me. I personally have felt bullied. I'm going to leave it at that. But I've also seen it towards other people on the commission and staff, in my opinion. I can no longer stand for it. I'm not suggesting that I'm perfect in any way, shape, or form, but I have not publicly, personally attacked anybody or made comments to them as far as personal. I have made comments about things that I see that I disagree with, and I disagree with strongly. And I have been called out in Zoom messages for that, but that's on a different level. I have not bullied anybody. And I realize by making this motion, it sets me up for retaliation, and I'm prepared to face the consequences of that. Because doing what you feel is right isn't always easy, but turning a blind eye is wrong. And it's fine. I know there's the kumbaya feeling in here, but if something does bother somebody for a long enough time, you got to say it. And when you see it, it's a repeat thing, then it needs to be addressed. I'm not saying, I don't know Commissioner Zatella personally. I'm not saying anything about her personal character whatsoever. I'm just saying what has transpired in meetings. That's what I'm saying, how I feel that meetings have transpired over time. And I guess the right thing would have been to bring it up at the time, but things build. And then other circumstances happen. And it just gets to the point when you have to say, when is enough enough? And some of you may say the same thing about me, and that's perfectly fine. And I understand that. That's my motion.
And your motion has been seconded for censure. So at this point, I'm going to call on Commissioner Zatella.
I just have a point of order. Because I don't think it was appropriate for the general counsel to be weighing in on a legal opinion on this matter, because there is, I think, a very obvious conflict of interest at this point when it comes to me personally. So I just want to state that for the record, but otherwise I'm saying nothing else.
Thank you, Commissioner Zatella. Okay, Commissioner Lett.
Call the question.
Thank you. Okay, so I believe I'm going to try to restate the motion. Commissioner Lang, you'll help me out, please, or Commissioner or General Counsel Pastula. I believe we have a motion to censure our chair for the reasons stated. I'm not going to go into that. Is that accurate? Okay. And is it appropriate if we do a, hand? Or is this
Roll
a
call.
roll call? Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna have to roll call because I have to abstain.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And then Commissioner Orton, I see your hand.
Yeah, could we just have some clarification about exactly what censure means?
That's a great question. Thank you, Commissioner Orton. Who can provide that? General Counsel, please.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So as I indicated earlier, a motion to censure is strictly a motion adopted, just that if adopted, pardon me, would just be disapproval of behavior. There is no disciplinary, it's not a disciplinary issue. It's not a penalty. It's not removal or expulsion or anything like that. It is strictly the body noting disapproval with a member's action if it is adopted. That is the extent of that motion in the manner in which it's been presented. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Zatella.
So to be clear, under Robert's Rules of Order, censure is an expression of strong disapproval or harsh criticism. So just to make that clear, it's not just slight disapproval, it's strong or harsh.
Thank you. Okay, roll call vote. Seeing no other hands. Secretary Sarah, please help us. Thank you.
Certainly. Commissioners, please indicate your support of the motion with a yes or a no. I will call on commissioners in alphabetical order, starting with MC Rothorn.
No.
Janice Follett.
No.
Aaron Wagner.
Yes.
Richard Weiss. Dustin Witches.
Yes.
Juanita Curry.
No.
Anthony Eade.
No.
Brittany Kellum.
No.
Rhonda Lang.
Yes.
Steve Lett.
No.
Cynthia Orton.
No.
Commissioner Zatella, can you state the reason for your abstention?
I'm abstaining because I have a conflict of interest because this concerns my behavior.
Thank you. By a vote of 3 yes to 8 no, the motion does not carry.
All right, MC, if you don't mind, I will jump back in and take back over. So at this point, we're going to move on to the approval of minutes. Next on the agenda are minutes for the approval of the January 13th meeting held in Detroit. The draft minutes have been provided to the commission prior to this meeting and are posted on the website. Are there any edits to the meeting minutes? Commissioner E, did you have some edits?
No, just a point of order. That was not the motion that we adopted when we adopted the agenda. The motion was to discuss the position of chair, not any particular chairperson, just expectations for the chair. And we did not have that discussion. However, I think that's far more than enough for today. And I would accept Commissioner Lett's recommendation to perhaps move that discussion to a later meeting.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Witches, seconded by Commissioner Rothorn. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 All opposed, raise your hand and say nay. Okay, the ayes prevail and the meeting minutes are adopted. There's one staff report today. Without objection, I'll ask Executive Director Hammersmith to provide her report. Please proceed, Ms. Hammersmith.
I just wanted to say at this time, we did receive the resignation of our general counsel yesterday, and I want the commissioners to know that the staff will be working, the remaining staff will be working on an interim plan that we will bring back to the commission in 2 weeks to assure that there's a smooth transition and to assure that there's a plan in place for this position. Obviously, this is an important role for the commission. If the commission so desires, we could put notification out immediately for a general counsel position and get that on the docket so that the commission can determine if they want to hire a replacement person, or if there are other options that we can seek. We will be seeking all options to make sure that the important work continues to get done. Obviously, remaining staff do not have those skill sets, and we're going to work with the commission to make sure that whatever you need and however you wish to proceed, that your staff will take care of what you wish for us to do.
Thank you, Executive Director Hammersmith. Commissioner Lett.
Yeah, I would request that the executive director and general counsel and Director Woods come back to us at the next meeting with suggestions of how we could proceed, and as well as some abbreviated report of where we stand as far as what's going on in the general counsel's office. I'm concerned that I'm not concerned that things are not in order, but I am concerned that we as a commission have some idea of where it's at now. I don't know if we got, if FOI requests are coming in a torrent, or if we've got those all under in hand, which I know general counsel has kept up on. So just to give us an update of where we're at and what we're looking at going forward. So I don't expect that today, but that would be something I would hope we would be able to address next meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Lett. All right, anything else, Executive Director Hammersmith?
I don't have anything else for today. I do want to thank General Counsel Pastula for her service that she's given over the last year, and certainly wish her the best.
Thank you. Without objection, I'll ask Sarah Reinhardt from the Michigan Department of State if she has a report. Hearing no objection, please proceed, Ms. Reinhardt.
No report today.
Thank you. Correspondence received in advance of our meeting today was provided along with written public comments to the commissioners in our meeting materials. Are there any future agenda items the commissioners would like to have added to future agendas? Commissioner Lett?
None more than what I've already suggested, but I would like to take an opportunity to say that while I haven't always agreed with general counsel's positions, and that have been rather public, I have also appreciated the job that she has done for us. And I've expressed that to her personally, and I wanted to do it openly and wish her the best on her future endeavors. Good luck to you, General Counsel.
Thank you, Commissioner Lett. Commissioner Kellum.
I also wanted to extend my warmest blessings to Julianne as she moves forward, and to thank her for the work that she's done. And I also wanted to apologize to the public for having to see this wonderful group have the tough conversation that we had. Hopefully we can move forward in teamwork and not slanderous behavior, and we can learn to properly vocalize when we have conflict, especially with one of our coworkers. So for those of you tuning in, I know you didn't plan to see all that today. And on behalf of the group, if I can apologize, I would like to do so, because that was not our best conduct. And I encourage each one of us to think very carefully moving forward about the types of subjects that we want to raise. So hello, citizens. Apology from Commissioner Kellum.
Thank you, Commissioner Kellum. Are there any announcements? All right, as the items on the agenda are completed and the commission has no further business, a motion to adjourn is in order. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Witches. Seconded by Commissioner Rothhorn. All in favor.
And Commissioner Weiss.
And what, Commissioner Weiss, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 All opposed, raise your hand and say nay. The ayes prevail and the meeting is adjourned at 11:41 p.m. I'm sorry, a.m. Thank you.